All right. Hi, everyone. Well, first of all, happy Thanksgiving. Can you guys hear me all right? Yes? Okay, well, tomorrow will mark the 5th anniversary of Lay's Real Talk. I can't believe it's been 5 years. Many of you have been with me since, oh, there's a super sticker. Well, thank you. Thank you. Many of you have been with me since the very beginning. Well, thank you for being here, for supporting me, and for showing up week after week. Some of you join every live stream. I'm just simply grateful. Now, I have taken a very different path from what most social media experts recommend. I've turned down sponsorship offers, so I'm not distracted from the important work I need to do, which is content research. And because I don't want to monetize the trust you place in me irresponsibly in this overly commercialized world. But fortunately, I have been blessed with loyal viewers who support me financially. Somehow I have a very special karmic connection with Australia. My very first donor, Steve, is from Australia. And my largest donor, Robert, is also an Aussie. And although I choose not to start a membership channel, many of you donate every month as if you were members. So on this Thanksgiving Day, I want to say a big thank you. I couldn't be more grateful. Now, there's one person who has been with me the longest, my editor, Chris, who lives in Southeast Asia. And in my professional life, I have rarely seen anyone with such extraordinary work ethic. Rain or shine, day or night, no matter what I need, when I need it, or how many last-minute changes I throw at him, he's always there. He never fails me. And this morning, Chris sent me a happy anniversary video that he made for this live stream. I wasn't supposed to watch it until the live stream, but I peeked. And I cried. So now let me share it with you. This is our 5-year journey from Chris's perspective. He wrote the script. He did everything. So everything is from him. And he has a nice message at the end. So let's see if I can hold back my tears this time. Where's the video? All right, here we go. Okay. Oh, here's Ken. My guest is yeah. Hi, Ken.
Hi, Lei.
Okay. People can see you now. All right, I'll introduce Ken later after this video. Okay, here we go.
Dear Lace, it's been 5 years since you started Lace Real Talk. Not a very long time, but you've been through many ups and downs.
We are a few days away from saying goodbye to 2020. We started the year with a virus from China, and we'll end the year with our nation in constitutional crisis. 2020 is undoubtedly marked by wars with invisible enemies. Hi everyone, welcome to my show. I'm Lei. Welcome to Lei's Real Talk. So what's wrong with the Chinese real estate market? And why do we say it's a bubble that will soon bust? Chinese are very proud of their long history and 5,000 years of civilization. But when they leave China, the bad behavior by Chinese tourists often leaves them embarrassed and the outside world dumbfounded. Student protests seeking freedom and democracy broke out at Student protests seeking freedom and democracy. Student protests seeking freedom and democracy broke out at China's University of Science and Technology. Once upon a time, there was a village called Earth. The second wealthiest man in the village had a reputation of beating his wife and children. As the beatings got out of hand, some neighbors tried to intervene. But this man always yelled, "It's my family affairs and none of your business." Hi everyone, well, welcome to Lei's first live streaming. I've never done this before, so bear with me if I seem a little unprepared. Hi everyone, welcome. Welcome to Lei's Real Talk. I stand by my claim that China's population is below 800 million. Lei, you should go see a psychiatrist. Should I? Is there something wrong with me? Someone said, Lei, you are #1 rubbish woman. I think you have a great sense of humor. I took that as a compliment. Someone said, you're repeating the same fake news again and again, but you enjoy listening to it again and again. Hello, hi. Can you guys hear me? Am I live? I just want to make sure that people can hear me. Always late.
Happy the 5th anniversary. Happy day to you, Lei Real Talk. My name is Chris. It's great to meet you guys here, and thank you for being here in this live stream. See you.
All right, so you guys get to meet Chris, my editor. Okay, here, let me introduce Ken. Oh, by the way, before that, I want to say Nicole is the newest addition to my small team. She's a young professional Peking opera singer. And so that's why the picture you saw was her with her entire costume on stage. So when she's not working with me, she's pursuing her artistic dreams on stage in North America. So welcome, Nicole. As you can see, this is a very artistic team. All right, so for this 5-year anniversary program, I asked for ideas and received many thoughtful suggestions. One message in particular stayed with me. A viewer wrote that my work inspired him as he built his own YouTube channel. And he said, your voice helped me carve out the path that creators like me are now walking on. So let me introduce my guest tonight, fellow YouTuber on China, Ken Cao. He and I will have a great conversation about Sino-Japanese relations, the CCP, and more. Now, like me, he is also originally from China, bilingual, educated in the United States, and now living in Japan. And he's passionate about telling the world what's really happening inside China. So, welcome, Ken.
Thanks, Lei, for having me. It's a great honor to be here, especially on the 5th anniversary of Real Talk. Congratulations on building one of the most trusted platforms for honest conversations about China. Your work really inspires me daily, and really appreciate that. And for your audience who have never seen me before, my name is Ken Tao. I'm a macro investor and geopolitical analyst focused on Asia, particularly China, Japan, and Taiwan. And like Lei, I also create YouTube content that breaks down the political economic realities behind the headlines. So I'm excited to be here today to talk about what's really happening in China and to celebrate this important milestone with you, Lei.
All right. When Ken and I talked 2 days ago, and when he first came on the show today, I was shocked. I was like, is that Ken? Because he looks a little different. And then realize, Ken, you changed your hair color.
Right. I know I have this important occasion today, so I want to make sure I look sharp.
But I really loved your blonde hair. I mean, it was a statement. Yeah. But you look great today. Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
I'll probably go back to the brown hair next time, but this is
After this
winter.
show,
After
I'm
this
just
show,
kidding.
yeah. It's winter, so I think like dark brown is the better color. And some of my viewers, I read their comments, and they suggest me to stay with this dark brown. They think this suit me better, so I don't know what to do.
Okay, I hope your fans are not upset and they're going to say, look what Lei did to Ken's hair.
Right, that's
All
mostly
right.
due to Lei.
All right, but welcome. Well, welcome. So, Ken, you have a JD from UC Berkeley Law School, and you were an assistant professor at Renmin University of China, and you're managing your own asset management firm, specializing in Taiwan and Japan. So, why becoming a YouTuber all of a sudden?
Well, my critique is I want to do something that I'm uniquely suited to create the maximum impact. And I think my experience in Asia and in the US give me a front row seat of in terms of observing what is most misunderstood about China. And I think there's a lack of truthful reporting and analysis about the nature of CCP, about China's future economic trajectory from mainstream media because of China's huge influence abroad. So I think it is my duty to speak out and to shine a new light and share my perspective on what is really happening in China, so investors can make more informed decisions in terms of their asset allocation, and policymakers can also uh, be more realistic, have a more clear-eyed view about China's true intentions and the threats the authoritarian system that that poses to the West.
Okay, that's great. And you started your channel 6 months ago, and you now already have 37,000 subscribers, and that's phenomenal. I think it took me more than a year to reach 37,000 subs. So, well, congratulations. Now, for everyone who have joined us, now Ken and I agreed to ask each other a couple of questions. So we're going to take turn. So, Ken, do you want to go first? You want to ask your question to me, or you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Like you have been doing this YouTube channel for 5 years, consistently, and I think it's truly remarkable the grit, the persistence, the consistency you have shown with your YouTube channel. And I'm just wondering, what is the most important message you want your audience to grasp about China?
Well, my message is short. What I want to say is China has a civilization of 5,000 years. CCP only has a history of what, 100 plus years, 104 years? But in the past century, the CCP has systematically destroyed China's splendid culture, cutting its people from their own cultural heritage. So the CCP is not China. It does not represent China or Chinese people, its traditions or its heritage. So if you love China, you love its people, not the political party that has harmed them and erased their cultural roots. So my message is simple. If you truly love China, stay away from the CCP and everything it represents, because they don't represent China. That's my message.
Right. I cannot agree with you more. And if you think about it, the orthodox ideology of CCP is really imported from Germany, right? It's
Yeah.
Karl Marx communism. And initially, it was completely funded by the Soviet Union. The name of the CCP at the very beginning it has a Soviet in it. It's a Soviet Republic of China. And even their currencies were coined with Lenin on their coins initially. So it just shows that it is completely imported ideology that has nothing to do with traditional Chinese culture or civilization.
Exactly. I mean, Chinese people call the CCP the most hostile foreign forces.
Right.
All right. Now,
More damage to Chinese tradition and the Chinese culture than any the so-called hostile foreign force can ever accomplish.
yes. All right. Now, for those of you who just joined us, I just want to tell you that Ken and I will have a lively discussion, and at the end, I will play you the song that I wrote for this occasion. Actually, there were two songs. I can't wait to release the songs. So stay still until the end. Okay, so now it's my turn to ask Ken a question. Now, Ken, you studied in the West and earned a law degree, but your formative years were in China, where you were born and raised. So how long did it take you to realize that what you have been repeatedly, the way you've been told by the CCP was essentially a lie? And were there several moments that triggered your awakening?
That's a very good question, Lei. It didn't happen in one single moment. You know, waking up from CCP propaganda, it's kind of like peeling an onion. Like every layer hits a little bit, and every layer reviews something they don't want you to see. And as you know, Lei, growing up in China, the propaganda is not just on CCTV or state media. It's in the textbooks, in the classroom, and most importantly, in the silence around certain topics that we can't talk about in China. You don't question it because you don't even realize that it can be questioned. And my first crack really came when I studied in the US, because suddenly I can read about Tiananmen Massacre, the Great Famine, the Cultural Revolution, and I can watch shows like Lay's Real Talk, right, openly without fear. And these are not sensitive topics anymore.
And
I remember
when
thinking,
was that? When was that? I mean, how old were you when you were studying in the US? Did you come before your law school?
right, I came after high school. So I went to college at UCLA and then went to law school in the US.
Okay.
Well, yeah. So I would say that was the formative experience of my life, and it really opened my eyes. Like I learned more about Chinese history, and the Chinese society while staying in the U.S. than
Yeah.
when I was back in China. That just shows you the beauty of free speech, and that's why we should cherish and protect this system in the West instead of trying to emulate the censorship, the authoritarian system of the CCP, because their economy somehow grew fast during those years because it was not sustainable. But honestly, I would say like my greatest teacher was not any professor or history book that I read in college. My greatest teacher about China was Chairman Xi Jinping,
Why so?
because under Xi Jinping, he opened my eyes. Under Xi Jinping, everything the CCP tries to conceal under Deng Xiaoping, Jiang Zemin, Hu Jintao became impossible to ignore, right?
I
We
see.
see the draconian zero COVID lockdowns that completely ignore the basic human rights of people, the destruction of Hong Kong's freedoms. We see the undercover police beating people in Hong Kong in subway stations. We see the wolf warrior diplomats threatening to behead, to cut off the neck of the other country's foreign minister. We see the bursting of the Chinese economic bubble, the housing bubble, the collapsing in employment rate. So Xi didn't hide the authoritarian playbook. He really put it in
front of everyone.
Yeah, for the whole world to see. So he's the true whistleblower for the Chinese system. And
Can someone tell him that? Can someone tell Xi Jinping that he's the biggest whistleblower on CCP's atrocity?
Well, I'm telling him that, but I doubt anybody in China can reveal these truths to him, because he's not the type of leader who is open to this kind of negative feedback. So he's surrounded by yes men who do their best to outcompete each other in praising him. So he lives in his own bubble and probably truly believes that he's a great leader. He want to put his own legacy in Chinese history book and think that he's doing a good job. That's probably the bubble he's in.
Let me ask you a question. If Xi Jinping is in front of you right now, and if you have 30 seconds to tell him something, what would you say to him in that 30 seconds?
Well, I would tell Xi Jinping that he's a great gift to the West, because in terms of strategic competition between the West and China, he's doing his best to undermine the rise of China. He basically has dismantled the economic political legacy that he inherited from wiser leaders like Hu Jintao and Deng Xiaoping, who laid the foundation for him to squander everything that he inherited. So for the people of the West, I would say, express a heartfelt gratitude to him. But for people of China, I would say, I truly feel sorry for them, because the Chinese people, they don't want democracy. All they want is a wise leader who allow them to be a good slaves. So just give them a limited economic freedom and leave them alone. They'll be happy to allow you to stay in power. But she's doing everything to destroy their lives. The middle class has been wiped out. The confidence about the future has been completely destroyed. He has no successor, no grown successor to his throne. So if he becomes incapacitated or passes away because of health reasons, China's political system will quickly unravel, and it will be huge chaos. And that just shows me the beauty of the Western political system, because wise men don't always rule. And when you end up with an unwise man like Xi Jinping, the whole system can collapse very quickly.
Okay. Well, I think it's certainly very well said. I can't wait that moment when you tell that to Xi Jinping directly, face to face. All right. I think
I hope that never happens, because if I tell him face to face, that means
you're in trouble.
I might be in trouble,
Oh, maybe he's in trouble. Why do you look at? I look at it. I think he will be in trouble if he's in front of you. I think he will be fine. Yeah.
If he's in front of me, he's probably
in trouble.
He probably fled China.
Yeah. Because
political coup.
You're smart. You're not going to go back to China, so you'll be fine. So if he's indeed in front of you, he's in trouble.
Good point.
All right, let me keep asking you a question. I think this back and forth doesn't work. So let me just ask you the question that I've been dying to ask. So you now live in Japan, right? And there's a big storm between China and Japan right now. So how do you assess the current crisis in China-Japan relations? And why do you think the Chinese Consul General in Osaka, Xue Jian, made such provocative remarks about the new Japanese PM, Sanae Takaichi? So what's your take on that whole episode?
Good question. I think audience need to understand why, first of all, why is China manufacturing this whole crisis with Japan? Well, when China's economy is collapsing, right? When look at the context first. When companies are fleeing, FDI has collapsed, youth unemployment hits record levels, the CCP always falls back on the same playbook, which is external enemies and internal nationalism, right? These two have replaced economic growth in terms of giving CCP legitimacy. And Japan is just the perfect target. So China's strategy is simple. Just turn Japan into this villain to distract the Chinese public from all the domestic failures that Xi Jinping has created. Now, in terms of this crazy diplomat in Osaka who made some really crazy remarks, right, like beheading the neck of Japanese prime minister, what kind of barbarian diplomat would talk like that? I think this is not just a slip of the tongue. I don't think an experienced diplomat would say that. This is really just typical wolf warrior diplomacy by design. And he did it because Xi Jinping's system rewards this kind of, royalty demonstrations, not diplomatic professionalism. So diplomatic competence is irrelevant now. It's ideological aggression that gets you promoted. And I would believe that CCP wants to intimidate foreign politicians like Takaichi, who speak out truthfully and loudly about Taiwan. And importantly, again, Beijing wants Chinese domestic citizens to see this performance domestically. So this was not a diplomatic statement. This is really just theater for the CCP audience.
Okay, now before I ask the next question, which is crucial to understand Sino-Japanese relations, I want to give a little background information on what's happening in Japan. So the Japanese PM currently enjoys a high approval rating on social media, but Japan's mainstream media, like Western mainstream media, has not been friendly to conservative leaders like the PM. And Japan's largest opposition party, the Constitutional Democratic Party, has been hitting her with fierce criticism. Their leader, who is a former prime minister, I think his name is Yoshihiko Noda, and he has publicly accused the PM of crossing the line and recklessly damaging Japan-China relations. And then the leader of Japan's Innovation Party, which created an alliance with LDP, right, the ruling party, and its leader, Toru Hashimoto, also publicly lashed out at Takaichi. And so this is the situation that Beijing wants to see, because they want to sow division within Japan. And if the Innovation Party withdraw its support, break the alliance, then Tsunai Takechi could be replaced, because her party does not have the absolute majority. So this is a bet. So this is really one of the strategies that Beijing has for Japan to make the new PM's job difficult and miserable, and so that there's a no-win situation for her. But my question to you is, this strategy, the success of this strategy depends on the level of infiltration of the Chinese in Japan, in Japanese society. So my question to you is, one, do you think this strategy will work? And two, based on your experience of living in Japan, how severe is the problem of Chinese infiltration in Japan?
Right, that's a very serious question. And on top of the points you already talked about, on top of that, Trump also reached out, Xi Jinping also reached out to Trump to exert even more foreign pressure on domestic Japanese politics. I think in terms of the CCP infiltration in Japan, it absolutely exists. But I think Japan is one of the most resistant countries in the world, far more immune than the United States. And there are very specific reasons for that. And I think Takaichi's still strong backing from the Japanese public actually attests to that truth. Because Japan is the Japanese language is a huge barrier for CCP influence. Because as you know, we grew up in China. The foreign language we learn in school is English, not Japanese. Japanese is one of the hardest languages in the world.
Do you speak Japanese?
I speak basic Japanese, and it's just so hard. It's
But
much
you
much
can
harder.
read. But can you read the Japanese characters?
Well, I can read kanji, right? There's a lot of
Uh-huh.
kanji in it, and I learned hiragana, katakana. I went to a Japanese school to learn some Japanese, but it's really hard. Just give you like one simple example. Like if we say thanks, thank you, that's very easy in English. In Chinese, it's even simpler. It's 谢谢, right?
Uh-huh.
But in Japanese, it's arigato gozaimasu. Like, just look at the syllables involved, how much complexity in that language. And for CCP and for Chinese little pinks, you can run like influence operations, especially online, and manipulate public opinion if you cannot even function inside the language ecosystem.
I see.
And I think another natural barrier that helps Japan is the Japan's much stricter immigration controls. Japan's immigration system is, much slower and conservative and highly selective. So they can't just Chinese cannot just easily get the Japanese legal status in Japan. So I think these two factors create basically a baseline immunity that most open societies in the West do not have. And Japan is not on the top of the list in terms of the Chinese infiltration abroad. I think the US and other Western countries are the top of the list. And for whatever historical reason, they don't respect Japan enough or whatever. But it does present still a huge threat because of the sheer number of Chinese that are living in Japan. I think there are 800,000 Chinese. And as you know, the CCP narrative expects all the Chinese diaspora abroad to serve the interests of the motherland. So if there is a conflict between China and Japan, the Chinese people in Japan are expected to be either intelligence assets for the CCP or, just still serve their motherland. And that's the narrative they've been pushing abroad to the US. Many Chinese Americans are torn between this idea of serving the place that they were born and grew up in, which is the US, or serve their so-called motherland, which is China. And CCP play on that to project its influence abroad.
Yeah. Have you been approached?
I'm not big enough to be approached yet, or maybe they watched my videos and think that I'm hopeless, like I'm a hopeless case. So they haven't tried on me yet. So
Okay.
luckily, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, the next question I have for you is, there's an ongoing debate about Xi Jinping's power. Some argue he has lost control, while others believe he remains firmly in charge. Where do you stand? Do you think Xi Jinping is still in control of the party? And looking ahead, how do you see the political landscape evolving as we move toward 2026?
Yeah, like I watched many of your shows where you cover the political infighting in China. I know that you hold a slightly different opinion, but my position is that she still holds absolute formal power, at least in China, right? He still serves the three most important posts: the chairman of the CMC, the Central Military Commission. He's still the general secretary of the CCP and the president of China. He still controls the propaganda system, the party personnel system, and every major policy committee he's the chairman of. So I just don't think there's any faction strong enough to openly challenging him, or anyone with even the ambition. Anyone with the ambition has already been purged in the last decade, or just sidelined. So in that sense, he's very much in control. And and I have what I call like a handshake test. So if you see like foreign leaders like Putin or Trump, when they want to have a relationship with China, they still meet with Xi, right? They still talk with Xi. So they still believe Xi is the person who makes decision. Otherwise, he won't be the person of contact. And in a brutal system like the CCP, if you lose your power, you don't get to shake hands with foreign heads of state. If you lose power, especially for Xi, who has antagonized and arrested so many people, millions of officials, if he has lost power, his fall from grace wouldn't be so benign. He will be in jail or even just disappear completely, like many previous leaders like Zhao Ziyang or Hua Guofeng under house arrest, or even just behind the jail, like Liu Shaoqi. So I don't think a person who has done so much negative stuff to the CCP system and its insiders can just safely retire, and in this case still represent China and shake hands with people like Trump.
That's very well said. And I can't say that I don't agree with you. However, one thing that we need to all remember is if we judge CCP's political dynamics based on what we see on the surface or what appears on the surface, then we may be in for a surprise, because CCP is not an animal that presents its present its reality as it is. So and it's very, so I think, yes, on the surface he's shaking hands with world leaders, he's still the heads of the state and holds 3 positions, but something has happened, right? We just don't understand the extent of what has happened. And I think that argument, of the 2 schools, the school that believe that he's still very much in control, almost all of their arguments rest on CCP's official propaganda and also what we see with our eyes. But I just caution that the truth may be far from what meets the eye. But I don't know what that truth is. I don't know what's underneath, because it's very difficult to find, right? I just caution that perspective.
Yeah, Lei, I agree with you. I think I have no doubt that underneath the surface, the elite frustration is real. I mean, I have no doubt that anyone with common sense within the CCP system is not happy with Xi Jinping, including all the retired veterans like Hu Jintao, who was openly escorted out of the party's Congress, and Wen Jiabao, whose business partner Duan Weihong was arrested by Xi. So they all have personal problems and huge issues with Xi's rule. But I just think the way the system is set up, all of their unhappiness can only be silent. So it could be, bureaucratic slowdown, some sort of passive resistance, like local officials not implementing orders and policy paralysis. But in a system that vests all the power within like one dictator, the way the Mao Zedong set up the CCP, all of these rebellions can only be silent.
Yeah.
And we don't have like a Deng Xiaoping figure within the CCP system right now that has enough authority, enough public support that can succeed, that can have a successful coup against Xi Jinping. That's the unfortunate reality the CCP as a party is facing. They're basically stuck with this, with this person who is doing more harm to the party's, future trajectory than any outsiders can do.
I agree that the word stuck is the best description of what's happening inside Zhongnanhai. I think they're stuck. They're stuck in their power struggles. All right, I want my viewers to hear different perspective, because I have my view, but I think it's good to open, right? To open to hear other perspectives. Okay, so Ken, now it's your turn to ask me questions.
Yeah, like one question I want to ask you is, what is your opinion about on the idea of the Western misconception about China? Because after decades of engagement with China, starting with Henry Kissinger and Nixon's visit to China, and now Trump is dealing with China, try to get China to buy more soybeans. Do you feel like there's still some misconception or incorrect idea about China that the Western policymakers still harbor? And what do you think about is the biggest misconception in that area?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's also a big question. Well, I think Western policymakers now certainly possess a great deal of information about the CCP's intentions and its subversive operations overseas, but they still fall short on action, right? Without COVID, many would still be daydreaming about China's market potential and coexisting with the CCP. The pandemic forced an awakening. But major blind spots, in my opinion, one is their overconfidence in hardware superiority. The West is too focused on chips, weapons, and advanced technology. Yes, the West leads in hardware, but hardware alone doesn't win an asymmetric fight. So I think there's overconfidence on the Western policymakers' part. And the second is underestimating the CCP's willingness to fight dirty. The CCP will not play by the rules and has never honored any agreements. So they will use every tactic available, including those considered unethical and unacceptable in the West. And the best analogy is it's what I call the misplaced attachment to gentlemanly manner, because a fist fight between a gentleman and a street thug doesn't favor the gentleman if he insists on fighting politely. And the last is, I think the West has always had a defensive mindset when it comes to dealing with the CCP. And this defensive mindset has pushed themselves into a corner and emboldened the CCP, right? Despite CCP's consistent rogue behavior, the West has largely played defense. I mean, one of the very few offensive moves are what? Trump's trade war. But even that can be considered a defensive play because China has been abusing the world trade system. And so when Trump corrects it, it's still defense. So I think this defensive mindset has tied up their hands and they're just not doing much. There's a severe lack of action. So that's the weaknesses that I see.
Right. I cannot agree with you more, especially the point of like a CCP fighting dirty and not honoring their agreement. That just shows the futility of trying to negotiate with them, right? And we can see it even in case of Hong Kong, the one country, two system agreement, 一国两制.
Yeah.
So they signed this agreement in 1984, respecting Hong Kong's sovereignty for 50 years, right? Leaving them alone. And just 27 years after takeover, they are completely dismantling this one country, two system international agreement. And the Chinese Foreign Ministry calls this agreement a historical document that they don't have to respect. And now Trump is still trying to negotiate a trade agreement with China. I'm just thinking, during first Trump administration, they already negotiated a phase 1 trade agreement. So how has China been living up to the agreement they reached just 5 years ago? So have they made all the purchases that they promised? Have they respected all the intellectual property rights that they promised to respect? If not, then what's the point of negotiating another trade agreement with them? Are they going to honor it? Especially if in a democratic system, when Trump may be leaving office in 3 years, would that just be another historic document, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think negotiating with the CCP is a waste of time, seriously. But they still have to go through the motion because even if even if they're not, I mean, they're meeting, maybe the US side is delivering an ultimatum to the CCP, and to the outside world, they call that a negotiation. Who knows what really happened behind doors?
Right. And can I just ask you one more question?
Sure.
Yeah. I think this question you have, this criticism you have encountered before, because I have encountered it many times. It's the criticism that we as Chinese diaspora have this forever allegiance to the party and to the motherland, the country. Any sort of criticism of CCP or China is somehow like a betraying the motherland. We're like the traitors. We're anti-China. We are Falun Gong or whatever. Like, how do you deal with this criticism that we should just praise China? We should never criticize any policies, no matter how bad it is for the Chinese people. We should just be a mouthpiece for as a Chinese state media is, right? We shouldn't be independent media. We should just hide all the ugly truths that is happening in China, because by exposing them, we're being unpatriotic to our motherland.
All right, but that whole statement rests on two concepts. One is loyalty, right? And second is motherland. So what is loyalty? Well, loyalty doesn't mean blind submission to a regime. It doesn't mean people stop criticizing their government or a political party. Precisely because we love China, that we're criticizing its political party. So we're loyal to China, to the Chinese people, to Chinese culture. But that doesn't obligate us to be loyal to the CCP. So we simply refuse to be loyal in a way the CCP demands. And true loyalty is earned. It cannot be coerced. You can't coerce people to be loyal to you. Whether they are loyal or not, that's their business. And you could, but you can't force people to be loyal to you. And the second is this weird concept of a motherland. I never understand what that actually means, because the CCP used this word very loosely. Well, is it cultural heritage? If so, what does every ethnic Chinese person automatically owe loyalty to Beijing, even though they were born in the West? So is it nationality? If so, then as an American, the United States is my motherland. Is it political lineage? The CCP wants people to believe it is the sole legitimate representative of China. But even historically, the ROC, the Republic of China, is older, at 113 years old, while the PRC is only 76 years old. So by that logic, the ROC is actually the PRC's mother. So if loyalty follows lineage, should we all be loyal to Taiwan, to ROC? So it doesn't make sense. What do you mean by this motherland? I think we should ask the question back. Well, how do you define motherland? What is it? So the CCP has inflated and weaponized the concept of motherland. And that definition they rely on simply does not exist, in my opinion.
Very well said. Yeah, they have inflated and weaponized this concept of motherland. Even to people in Singapore, like the Singaporeans, they are bombarded with this narrative that because they're a lot of them are ethnically Chinese, that they should serve their motherland, China, which many Singaporeans have never been to. But because they're ethnically Chinese, China should be Singaporeans' motherland. That is how they gradually, exert their foreign influence abroad. A lot of it is still this like weaponized narrative to brainwash people outside of China to do the beating of the CCP.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I think anytime people use that against us, we just ask the question back.
Right.
I mean, ask them, is there anyone in your life who demands this kind of loyalty to you that you like? If not, then why do you have to subject yourself to this kind of loyalty to a political party?
Right.
Isn't that weird?
And this whole narrative is hostile to the whole concept of the United States, because the United States is a country of immigrants, right? So it's a country of people with different motherlands, right? The German Americans, Italian Americans. So if we all serve our so-called motherlands, the whole concept of the U.S. cannot exist. And during the Nazi Germany era, should Eisenhower, who who is, I think, a German American, not to fight the Nazi Germany, because Nazi Germany is somehow his motherland. So a lot of CCP narrative just cannot hold water if you just, use a little bit of logic and they all just collapse.
Yeah, even the Chinese are not all ethnic Hans. I have ancestors who, I'm Manchurian.
Oh, really?
So I may be, my motherland could be Mongolia or even Russia. Who knows? So well, does that mean that's my motherland? It doesn't make sense. All right, so we completed the questions that we have for each other. Before we open for Q&A, now let's get to the most exciting part, Lei's song. Okay, so like I said, the reason I started this channel was that in 2020, I come to the enlightenment that we need two things to guide our world: wisdom and courage. I feel like in this world, there are a lot of smart people, very wise people, but they do not have the courage to speak up. They keep quiet. They observe everything. They know everything. They're very smart, but they choose to say nothing. And then on the other hand, you have a lot of courageous people who are not afraid to speak up, but they could lack wisdom. And so they got themselves into trouble. So I was thinking, wow, we need both. We need wisdom and courage. And so that has been my inspiration in the past 5 years, trying to find out what exactly is wisdom and what exactly is courage. And so I just decided I write down my thoughts, and it become lyrics of a song. And I asked a musician friend of mine who actually, someone forwarded me a music channel, and I was like, wow, the music is beautiful. I said, I want them to write a song for me. I didn't know who was actually behind that. It turned out it's someone I knew. It's a friend we have a mutual friend. So I reached out, and she asked me what kind of music I want, what kind of song I want. I told her, and there it is. Okay, so here's the song. There's an English version and there's a Chinese version. So let me play the English version first. Okay, here we go. Where do I do? Okay, I do this, and then here we go.
In this fleeting world of minds that come and go, so many search for truth, yet few truly know. We build our thrones of smart machines and screens, but lose the voice of wisdom in between. True wisdom rises from a heart that's kind, from quiet depths and clarity of mind. Like a spark it glows, in the dark it stays, guiding our souls through the storm and haze. Through the ages, warriors rise and fall, but courage lives in the hearts that give their all. When the body's chained by fear and strife, the spirit fades from the song of life. the courage to tell.
All right, so that's the English version. And then we translated to make a Chinese version, which is a little shorter, but here it is with Chinese lyrics that are similar but a little different.
在这匆匆人世来来往往，多少聪明的心，缺少有人明白真相。我们筑起那智能的机器和玩具，却遗失了心底那一缕智慧的光。真正的智慧源自一颗善良的心，清澈如水，镜中见真，如星火闪耀，穿越夜的深，在风暴中指引灵魂前行。千古风云，英雄来又去，唯有勇气长存在无私的心底。当身体被恐惧锁紧，灵魂便远离生命的旋律。勇气诞生于我至今，爱人无私，恐惧戒严。放下执念，自由无期，你将飞翔在勇者的天地。愿智慧的火花永远闪耀，照亮你岁月的长道。愿勇气的翅膀助你飞翔，穿越风雨，看见天外真光。愿智慧的光在心中生根，指引你每一次前行。愿勇气的风托起你身影，自由翱翔，拥抱无边天地。
All right, so Ken, which version do you like better? Because
I honestly like both. I mean, I cannot pick one. Both are just brilliant. The visual, the lyrics, the singing, the melody, they're all great. And that's the benefit you get on Lay's Real Talk. You get intellectual stimulation and you get artistic enjoyment in one package.
all right, well, thank you. Actually, I like the English version better because I wrote the lyrics, right? Because the Chinese translation, I was helped by the composer. And then Chris told me, he said, I like the Chinese better. And I'm like, wow. And then you know what? When the music video came out, the Chinese video actually made me cry. When the June 4th, when the Tank Man visual came on, I just couldn't help, you know. So in the end, I agree with him. I think the Chinese, it does come out more powerful because when you have these we have the footage of people today in China, their struggle, I think it's more impactful to me. So, but the whole team is bilingual. The song were the work of three true bilingual women who are both fluent in Chinese and English. The singer is anonymous. She does not sing to make a living, but
Wow.
she, as you could tell, it's sung by the same woman. One thing English, one thing Chinese. She did a perfect job. So I couldn't be any happier. So I'm very, very happy. That's all.
Amazing production.
Yeah, it's actually done within a week. That was just as quick as it was. All right, so let's open for questions. So people, if you have questions for Ken and I, put the name in front of your comment so we know who it's addressed to. So if it's Ken, put his name in front. If it's a question you want me to answer, put my name in front. Okay, let's see what people have. I'm just picking questions random. Oh, David Lopan, please put the link for us in the chat. Well, I think it's okay. Let's see. Question. A lifetime of wisdom. Okay, someone said, thank you for your support. Okay. People, very, very nice, well arranged. Okay, there's a true story in the song, Hope. Okay, wow. Okay, let's see. Love the song Lei, truly beautiful. The symphony, the lyrics, the song for both version, but it touched me more in English, probably because I don't speak Chinese. Yes. Well, thank you. We're going to release this music in our channel. This is not a channel known for music videos, but we're going to release it anyway. Okay, Lei Can, ? From Anna Ben TNEZ. Okay. Do you think Takaichi and Trump are playing bad cop, good cop with Xi Jinping? Ken, would you want to answer that question?
I don't think there's this coordinated effort to, play bad cop or good cop. I just think both are acting out of what they perceive to be their national interest. In the case of Takaichi, she's not saying anything new. It's always been the Japanese policy that any emergency in Taiwan is an emergency in Japan. That actually traces back to Shinzo Abe. And Takaichi, what's new is she's the sitting prime minister who openly put out this public policy. And in case of Trump, I think he still wants to build this cooperative relationship with Xi Jinping. And it's Xi Jinping that reached out to Trump. So probably asking Trump to help, de-escalate the situation in Taiwan by putting pressure on Japan. And I think Trump is just trying to establish a working relationship, and because he still wants to help the American farmers to sell their agricultural products to China, and he still wants China to help in terms of the Russian-Ukraine war. So it's a very complicated situation, but I don't think it's coordinated between the two leaders.
Okay. All right, great. And someone, the person who asked the question said, it's great to see you both together. Keep it up. All right, so maybe we should do this more often.
Right.
All right, let's see. Question. Any other questions?
Oh, so I saw one. He says it's Rex2867. Ken, I think I've seen your face on YouTube before, but never.
Can you talk about China from a different angle than Lei? Do you talk about China from a different angle than Lei?
Well, one difference is that we hold different ideas about how safe is Xi Jinping within that system. Lei think that he's under a lot of open challenges and threats of coup. I think he has completely consolidated his power, and all the purge comes from him, not from some rival factions. So that's one different angle.
Okay. There's another question from Zhang Do to you, Ken. I know a few Taiwanese, and they say they have a close relations with Japan. How does Japan feel about Taiwan?
Well, Japan used to rule Taiwan for 50 years. So of course there is this colonial history between the two nations. But today, at this point, a lot of it is really geopolitical. I think Japan feels like Taiwan is a close ally, and because of geography, it is true that when China invades or takes over Taiwan, that represents a huge, huge security threat to Japan because the southernmost island of Japan is just 100 kilometers away from Taiwan, right? So it gives China an easy way to project its force against Japan from Taiwan, and also to the U.S. to a certain extent because the first island chain will be broken if Taiwan is taken over. So it's basically a unsinkable aircraft carrier to go into the Pacific and to harass the U.S. And also just economical reasons, cultural reasons. The two nations really have a great relationship. So Japan feels this responsibility to speak out as a responsible stakeholder for the regional security.
Okay, here's another question from Quick Cash 2327 says, Ken, what's your take on BRICS and China's leadership of it?
Well, I think that concept is doomed from the beginning because let's just think about it. China and Russia are fake allies. China will betray Russia anytime they see fit. There's no great foundation for them to have a great relationship. And just also look at China and India. How could these two nations be an ally? They cannot trust each other. They just have a huge land dispute and infighting in 2020 that caused dozens of casualties. And to this day, they have land dispute near the Tibet area. And I'm hugely bullish about the future of India. I think India will grow much faster than China in the coming decades, especially because of the demographic reasons. It's a much younger nation, and it's a democratic nation. And on a fundamental level, this concept is doomed because these nations do not have the ideological and geopolitical alignment to create a sustainable bloc.
Okay. All right. Question from Norbert Claus. It's addressed to Ken. He said, Ken mentioned that the Chinese people do not really want democracy. What does he think? What does he think what the next government after the fall of CCP will be?
Well, that's the trillion-dollar question, right? Because as we have seen from the dynastic cycle over the last thousands of years, it's always like one bad dynasty replacing another. It's the same dictatorial rule, but with just a different name. I think the Chinese history doesn't have this democratic DNA in it since the Han Dynasty, and which incorporated Confucianism as the orthodox teaching, basically the respect for emperors and all these hierarchical ideas are embedded into the Chinese DNA. So for thousands of years, all the Chinese citizens want is a relatively benign emperor who kind of allow them to be the slaves that they are. They are not demanding political rights. They don't have this history of demanding political rights and vote. They don't have this history. So they're perfectly happy with a CCP under Deng Xiaoping or Hu Jintao, who kind of do a decent job, growing their wallet and allowing to improve their living standard. But Xi is going backward. It's such a bad leader that they cannot be the slaves that they want to be because they cannot even have the material life they used to have.
Okay, I want to interject my opinion on that. I think Chinese people do not want democracy. I think it's because the Chinese people have never been formally introduced to what democracy is. They don't understand how democracy functions, and therefore they naturally rejects it because they don't know what they don't know. I think at this point, if they were given the opportunity to choose, it's very likely that they embrace a democratic political system, because at this point, any political system is better than the CCP system.
Right, and we can see the experiment in Taiwan because
It
people in
worked.
Taiwan,
Yeah.
right? It worked in Taiwan beautifully, and the people in mainland China just has to overcome this CCP narrative that democracy is bad, is chaotic, that the CCP system, right, this dictatorial authoritarian system is what serves them the best. They've been brainwashed so deeply that they don't know that they are basically like birds caged without any rights as a dignified human being should have.
Okay. And here's someone ask you from Lisa R. Ken, do you love Japan? I lived there and loved it.
Well, I love the food. The food is great. And it's very clean. It's very safe. It's very convenient. I don't have a car. I can get by with public transportation without fearing of my safety. So it's a pleasant country to live, but economically, it has been stagnated for decades. My wife, she basically revealed to me that she has some relatives whose salary today in 2025 is basically the same as in 1992. So 3 decades have passed, their salary in nominal terms, in Japanese yen terms, have barely increased. And Japanese yen is not doing so well. It's a very weak currency. So if you translate it into US dollar, right? So their economic prospects have not improved a lot. Their living standards basically have been the same over the last several decades. But the difference is Japan stagnated after it became rich, right? After their GDP per capita is already more than 20,000 USD. That's when they stagnated. While China is entering into this stagnation period, these lost decades, when it was still poor and when it was rapidly aging. Lei has done some shows about the true population of China. It's vastly overstated. Their demographic dividends has already expired. So if you layer on top of that a crumbling political system, its economic trajectory will be much worse than Japan.
All right, good. Ken, is that why you are in Japan? Because your family is in Japan?
Yeah, for family reasons, and also my job allows me to work anywhere in the world to join this show. And I still visit US very often. I just visited US this summer, spent 2 months there on the West Coast. So I still love US. I road trip across the US to every single state before I moved to Japan. So I love the beautiful nature, the national parks. So forever I'll be American. So I'm still American at heart.
So you don't plan to go back to China, I assume.
Right. If I want my freedom, and no, and interestingly enough, I don't have any problem with that. If
Not
someone
going
says
back to
let's go back
China?
to China, I'll be like, no, I don't want to go there.
Okay, good. Don't go back to China because you'll be in trouble.
Yeah. But luckily I'm American though, so that's like one layer of protection, although I wouldn't rely on that.
Oh, so you're American living in Japan.
Right. So it's better than, holding a Chinese passport, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm American. I'm speaking as American, not as a Chinese. So CCP, despite their long arms, jurisdiction control, they cannot extradite me to China, right?
So here's one question from DipSeek, not DeepSeek. It's DipSeek. The question is do you think the last 3 decades of China already begin? I mean, that in reference to the 3 last decades of Japan, right?
Yeah.
But go
I
ahead.
think it's already begun. We're right in the middle of it. It's not like my prediction that we're about to enter. We're already deep in it. For instance, we look at the property market in Beijing or Shanghai. The property price today has already collapsed back to the 2015 level. And I'm talking about major cities. In some, smaller cities, the housing price has collapsed to 2012, 2010. So in terms of asset prices, it's completely wiped away middle class savings. And the political system is in huge chaos. So they're right in the middle of it.
Well, my answer to that is that I think it's really not a comparable analogy because the 3 lost decades in Japan, it's the last 3 decades, but ordinary people are still able to maintain like a okay life, right? I mean, the economy was stagnant. Like you said, people's salary didn't go up for 3 decades, but people can still get by. Whereas in China, what we're about to see is not like 3 decades of stagnation. We're going to see a collapse because there will be people at the bottom of the social strata, literally going hungry. They're not going to have the money to eat. There'll be poverty, and there'll be people going hungry. People die of hunger. So that's what I said. It's not really a comparable analogy from my perspective.
Right, it will be much worse. And just recently, the Ministry of Agriculture publicly admitted that they're worried that all these migrant workers don't have jobs in the city and have to move back to the countryside. Well, these people cannot farm anymore. So if they cannot make a living in the countryside and they have to go hungry, then that is the powder keg for some sort of revolution right there.
Yeah. Okay, wow. It's let's see. We still have 1,400 people live online. Excellent. Let's see any questions. I'm just moving along. Okay, let's see. In communist socialist countries, the lands always belong to government. Citizens can buy houses but not own their lands. Yeah, they have 70 years. What? For residential properties, they have 70 years of rights to use it. At the end of that, the government, they have to repay the government, right? If they continue want to live in that house. Yeah.
They don't own anything. And even billionaires don't really own anything. They don't own their lives. They don't own their freedom. There's no private property protection. The state can confiscate your assets under any sort of legal pretext, and you own nothing in the communist China.
Okay, someone said, I follow both of them, meaning you and I can. Never expected a collaboration. Outstanding. Excellent. I didn't even know. I mean, I actually came across your channel a couple of times. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many viewers who, when they comment on my videos, they would mention your name.
Really?
Like they would ask me, do you know about Lei's channel? Lei's also good. Like they also talk to each other to recommend other channels, and your name always get mentioned. So I know that my viewers definitely watch you.
Okay, good. I don't do interviews. I think you are the third interviews I did. In my 5 years, I rarely do interviews. So
that's my great honor. And your show is the only YouTube show that I have appeared on. Someone else's show that I've appeared on.
Really? Oh, it's a beginning. I'm sure you'll do very well. All right. Any last words for my audience? Any parting words for them or for me?
I'm just honored to be here, and Lei, you're doing a great job. Educating people about what is happening in China. I admire your courage. As a woman, especially, to be this persistent in speaking out, despite all the dangers that you may face by speaking out against China, the CCP. Even though you live in the West. And I just truly admire you're doing a great service, and it's badly needed. And that's part of the reason why I'm doing it. There's no lack of such content in the Chinese language community. There's a lot of YouTubers doing it, but in the English media, there's not enough supply, and that's why I'm jumping in. Lei's inspiration. She's the trailblazer, but I'm training her to add my 2 cents on what is happening there, so that people get a more comprehensive picture, right? Not just from the positive stories told by the CCP mouthpiece, but the stories that we see should also be shared.
Yeah. Okay, great. Wow, you will do very well. We should get more people do what we do, so that maybe I'll retire one day. And you can go back to your asset management company.
Well, there's no contradiction between my YouTube channel and my asset management. I'm right now in the middle of launching a fund, and the fund strategy is basically centered around my geopolitical opinion that China is going down, which will benefit the economies of surrounding neighbors like Taiwan and Japan. So there's a way to sort of, for the Westerners to kind of protect themselves, their savings, their investments from this collapse of Chinese economy and potentially profit from it. And my investment strategy is very much correlated to my geopolitical insights.
Okay, good. Maybe my sidekick is songwriting. How's that? I need to find something fun to do in addition to talking about the CCP. You know, maybe I need to have a creative outlet. Maybe songwriting. Okay. Well, I didn't thank. I know a lot of you gave me super stickers, and thank you very much for supporting me, supporting Ken. I truly appreciate all of you. I normally address everyone who gave me super stickers and donations here, but in the interest of time, I just want to say thank you all for joining us in this 5th year anniversary. And thank you very much, Ken, for taking the time. We'll do it again sometime, okay?
Yeah, we're happy to do that. And maybe one day I can interview you on my channel, although I still have to learn how to use this live streaming.
Oh, it's easy. It's easy. It's a no-brainer for you. You will do it in no time. Okay, everyone, enjoy the rest of the weekend, and I'll see you next time. Thank you,
right.
Cam. Bye-bye.
Yeah, congratulations again.
Yep, bye.